The savings that we find, it's 100% profit. It is, you used to pay $14,000 for something, now you're paying $11,000. That $3,000 is now just profit. And we got there without changing anything.
Today on Business Insights, I have the pleasure of speaking with Kevin Flounders, the CEO of SIB Fixed Cost Reduction. Kevin, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for taking the time. We absolutely love this partnership and working with your team, and excited to try and get the news of who we are and what we do out there today.
Good. Yeah, I will say that your team has been a joy to work with, and we absolutely love this partnership as well. And the benefit that you provide to our clients is huge. So thank you for that. We really love what we're doing with SIB. So Getting started, tell me about SIB and how you got started.
Sure. So SIB was actually founded during the last financial crisis. We were all hoping that was going to be the last financial crisis. This was obviously pre-COVID, but in the financial crisis of 2008, we were formed with really clear, probably one of the easiest elevator pitches in the world. If you could save money for clients without changing anything in their operations or reducing headcount, wouldn't everybody want to do that? And that's how the company got started. And really, to what we always say, simply put, we're a cost reduction firm that uses data analytics and subject matter experts to take what we call a 360-degree view of your unmanaged and indirect spend. And we look for savings in the past, in the present, and in the future.
Great. So walk me through that process and how it works.
Sure. Our process couldn't be any simpler. When your client shows any interest whatsoever in SIB, our analytics team will pour over all of the invoices that are on the InfoSync system for about a month of your spend. And then we take 2 weeks running an analysis on where those spends match up with what we see in the industry. And then we come back with a very conservative, what we call a savings report. And it kind of outlines the areas that we feel we can save your clients the most money. From there, we just schedule a quick 20-minute call to go over our findings. And that's going to show all of the different vendors that we feel that we can make a material change in the costs that your clients are paying. And if the client chooses to proceed, SIB will simply work over the next 60 to 90 days to achieve the savings that we set out to get. We steal from Staples and say it's kind of like hitting the easy button for savings.
Great. So you have the ability to review many categories for your customers. Do you review all the categories, or can customers pick and choose which categories they want you to review?
Ashley, that's a great question. That's probably one of the biggest questions that people have. They look at our 94 spend categories that we look at, and we look at a lot of areas. What we will do is during our initial, when we're creating the savings report, we will look everywhere. We will look at every aspect of that spend because it doesn't take any time or effort from the client. We're simply looking at your last months of bills. When we present that report, the client simply chooses the areas that they want us to look at. Sometimes clients engage with us on where they have us look at every aspect of their spend. But many times clients tell us, we just want to focus on waste, telecoms, maybe bank fees, things like that. But what we prefer to do is make sure that the client has a good understanding of, like, we try and quantify what the savings are in all the different areas, and then let the client choose where do they want us to go to work on.
Okay, great. So yeah, because I'm sure that's pretty overwhelming to the client when they see this whole list, of categories and how this can go. So it might help to take it in bite-sized chunks for some.
We love the idea of, I like the approach of sales when instead of saying we're the best at everything, just trust us, we prefer to bring to you the full savings gamut of what we can do and simply say, use us for a couple of these categories. If you do, we have an incredibly high percentage of the people will use us continuing on and add more and more and more categories. We're in that lovely space where our clients come to us and tell us what they want us to look at. And we're very lucky that they continue to ask us to look deeper and deeper into their spend categories.
Okay. So how do you find the savings for clients?
So that's another great question. How we go about finding savings is, again, using that 360-degree view of your savings. We will look, the very first step in what we do is we look back. So depending upon what your contracts say, we can go back 2 to 3 years of your invoicing, and we will make sure that you've been charged appropriately. We will find if there's any errors in there, if there's any refunds or rebates due, and we'll fight for you to get those rebates. In the present, we want to make sure that you have the absolute best-in-class pricing with your current vendors. So it's a very big kind of differentiator for us. We're not looking to come in and make operational changes. We are simply a company that comes in and we want to make sure that we're saving you the most amount of money we can without making changes. So that means staying with the same vendor and the same service, but just making it less expensive. So that's how we save you money in the present. And then the most important part of what we do is we make sure that the pricing that the vendor has agreed to and that either your company or our company has fought for, we make sure that those prices remain over the course of our agreement. So for the next 3 years, we are going to be auditing those invoices every single solitary month to make sure that you don't have the price creep that is prevalent in the service industry. So we joke about when you see a Comcast bill, when you move into your house, it's $100, and before you know it, it's $250. So what we try to do is we try to make sure that your expenditures are flat for the entire time that you're engaged with SIB. And we do that just simply by working in the background. When we find an anomaly or an error on a bill, we will fight on the client's behalf and simply get a credit. We don't stand in the way of AP. We don't approve invoices. We simply make sure that your vendors are charging you what they should be.
So it sounds pretty simple. I mean, it's overwhelming at first, but it sounds pretty simple, especially from the InfoSync client side. Mm-hmm. We have permission from the client to give you read-only access to the GL detail.
Yep.
You do a month's worth of invoices, and then you take them the cost savings analysis. This is what you could be saving. And then with their permission, you renegotiate with the vendor to get best in class pricing.
Yep.
Do the vendors not like SIB? I mean, what's that relationship look like?
So that's another, if I were to say like, what are the 2 most common misconceptions we have? That's definitely number 1. People think that when we call to a vendor, they hate dealing with us. It's the exact opposite. When we have a name in the industry, we've been in business now for almost 13, 14 years. We are not the people that come in that scare vendors. Vendors don't want you to come in and to move services off of them. They know that the nature of our business is to kind of buttress the relationship that they have with the client. And what we always try to do is make sure that the vendors we only negotiate based off of data. So we will go to the vendors and we will actually provide them with the data that we have curated over the past decade to say, this is the pricing that the client should be getting based off of what you have charged other people that are similar size and similar location. And a lot of times the account managers are hungry for that data. We're always surprised because when we deal with the account managers, they actually leave with a better understanding of the industry than before we talk. The relationship that we always have is we try to make the client, SIB, and the account manager a team fighting to get pricing from the company. We never try and go in where it's us versus the account manager. And so that leads to having better relationships overall. We again are not going to be moving services. So vendors like the fact that we can that working with us tends to leave services in place.
Great, great. So talk to me about your competitors in the industry. How is SIB different? Or do you really have competitors?
So we always say that our competitors are our main competitor is just not doing anything. We don't really have competitors in this space. We're a pretty unique company. There's other companies out there that maybe focus on one area. Like there's a company that will focus on just linens and laundry. Somebody that will focus on just uniforms. We are a simple way of using all of those industries and getting the most benefit out of only having to work with one company. But the biggest thing that we do that's different is most companies that are in this space, in the cost reduction space, they want to make operational changes. And the funny one is we have a competitor that will come to you and say, "Are you printing on all of your printing on double-sided, or are you just printing single-sided? You'll save money if you print double-sided." That's not something that we're ever going to try and get. We want to make changes without ever having to have a seat at your management table or really have any kind of big difference. You're spending this much money on vendors and services that you've already chosen. We just want you to spend this much money on the same vendors and services. Another key differentiator for us is we only ever share in the savings. There's no setup fee. There's no hourly fee. We simply invoice based off of what you have actually achieved in that month. And what it does is it keeps us perfectly aligned with the client. The more money we save the client, the more money we make. The less money we save the client, the less money we make. And every single month, we have to sing for our supper and make sure that the savings that we put in place remain. Most companies in our space, they'll fight for a better price, and then they'll extrapolate that over the next 3 years and send a big bill. We don't do that. We only bill you as you are saving the money in the rear, so that you're never writing us a check with new money. You're only ever writing us a check on saving money.
So it's not just like one quick review and here's the money you're going to save and then you're done, right? So this is over time, you're saving them more money 2-3 years down the road.
Yeah, that's the best part of what we do is the fact that we're going to see throughout the course of our engagement, we're going to find new areas to save money in. And as long as the client continues to want to work with us, we will always audit every single one of the invoices that we have savings in. And we will make sure that the spend stays flat. And so we're not coming in and we're like a bull in a china shop and we come in and make a bunch of changes and do a bunch of work and then you just get a bill from us for the next 3 years. Every single month, we are earning our money by making sure that your spend stays at or below the rates that we fought for, because we're consistently fighting for better rates. As things change, we start to see a good case in point. It's a small spend for most people, but Armored Car. During COVID, Armored Car just decided to start raising their rates without any sort of contractual changes or anything. They just started raising the rates. We had contracts with them. And so what we did is we kept fighting and fighting every time they would raise the rates and making it so that the client's savings remained intact. That's the kind of work that we do on an ongoing basis so that we're driving value for our client throughout our engagement, not just in the first 90 days. And that's why most clients stay with us well past their engagement, because they know that if we are like the watchdog for them to make sure that the vendors are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And to be truthful, the vendors want to charge the right amount. There's like every other company, there's constantly going to be errors in invoicing. We see it in a huge percentage of invoices. They're just incorrect. They have the wrong quantities. They're dropping off, like for some of your clients, they'll drop off mats that nobody ordered, and they'll charge you on a monthly basis to provide the mats and to clean the mats and replace the mats. And when we ask them who ordered these mats, Nobody knows. So in our contracts, as we're fighting for, we make sure that they can't just deliver new services without having management approval on any of those things. So we try to stop any of the avenues that the vendors will use to increase their revenue, because listen, everyone's under the same margin constriction. Everyone's looking for new ways. We just want to make sure that it's a level playing ground between our clients and the vendors.
Great. So you've mentioned armored car, and I know that you work in telecom and waste.
Mm-hmm.
You have like 90 something categories that you look at.
We do. We have a lot of categories. And again, to make things simple, we don't ask you to go through each one of the categories. We simply, as we do our front end analytics, which of course has absolutely no obligation or no cost, when we go through there, we're going to pick out the areas that we know we can make the biggest impact on. For your clients, historically, I can't tell you where the spend or the savings is going to come from, but historically, we found really good savings in telecom, waste, bank fees, so like the treasury fees. A lot of times, your clients have very complex banking needs, and the invoicing that goes along with complex banking needs is very complex fee structure. So what we do is we make sure that those fees are in line with industry average. Linens and laundry, property tax is a huge area that we save people money in, because fighting assessments is incredibly difficult. It's different state by state by state by state. We are licensed in all 50 states to save money and do the assessment. Utilities is a massive area that we do work and save people money in. And utilities can be anything from sewer, water and sewer, propane, electricity. We have industry experts, probably the greatest conglomeration of energy experts that I feel in the space is on our team. But like you said, we also look at small expenses, armored car, hood cleaning, grease trap, like these small expenses that if we can find errors and just out of whack pricing, we'll go and address. But the other big fees that we look at for your clients, merchant services. So merchant services and a third-party delivery, Uber Eats, DoorDash. Anytime that there's an incredibly complex service or bill, we want to be the ones that are going through and making sure that you're being charged appropriately. DoorDash and Uber Eats, if you ever saw like how those invoices come in, you almost have to say, I hope it's right. We don't do that. We always go and break down each individual line item on that invoice and make sure that what they're charging is what they are contracted to charge. Again, they're new companies. They're growing incredibly fast. The pandemic forced them to grow about 3 times faster than they were anticipating. What that's going to do is put a heavy load on the back end side of their company. So what we want to do is make sure that they're billing appropriately. And we fight for, we know what the pricing structure is for 70,000 restaurants. So it's not very hard for us to come in and say, for this size and this volume, you should be getting this pricing. It's just a luxury that we have through our subject matter experts and our data. That's where our benefit is.
When you talk about all of the reviewing that you do, so each invoice, each month, the workload that would, I'm thinking about being a restaurant owner or operator and trying to staff people, and that would be their only job. And I just can't imagine the amount of resources that would take. It really is a benefit.
What we try to do is saving money for our clients is absolutely, it's vital, and it's the most important thing that people think they hire us for. But what it turns out to be is the time that we save, the resources that we save for our clients. When we interview our clients throughout the course of their engagement, we always suspect that it's going to be the financial savings are the absolute highest thing, and it never is. That's always number two. Number one is the amount of time we save, and it's also a peace of mind thing. When some of the vendors come out, if you don't have an expert in the field, it's very, very, very difficult to make sure that the invoice is correct. It doesn't mean that the vendor's trying to send an incorrect bill. It just means that if invoicing is complicated, the likelihood of errors go up. And in this space, many of those areas that I talked about have incredibly complex billing. Telecom, for example. Telecom, people always fight for to get cheaper prices on the services that they're trying to have delivered. A POTS line for a fire alarm, Ethernet for guest Wi-Fi, things like that, TV service. What nobody ever really looks deep into is the taxation and surcharge side. A telephone bill could have 41% taxation and surcharge bills on there. Everybody knows all you have to do is look at your own bill at home and you see these like, what is a carrier cost reduction fee? I have no idea what that is. Should it be 2%? Should it be 4%? We have people that actually design the invoices for the carriers. We take them from the carriers and make them employees of SIB so that they know exactly how the taxation and fees should be. And then we fight on that side. Those things typically don't hit the vendor's bottom line, so they're more than willing to work with us on those pieces. And really, I would imagine not many of your clients at InfoSync have on staff a telecom tax and fee analyst. There's no reason to. We have it so that they don't have to have it.
Gotcha. Well, Kevin, I'm actually really surprised you mentioned that a lot of times when you look at the savings, there's more time savings than cost savings. Even still, we're not talking pennies here on the cost side. I just got a report from here, and again, I can't praise your team enough. But they sent me this report for a client of InfoSync, and they found $196,000 in annual savings that goes, from my understanding, straight to the profit margin, right, for these companies. So that's huge.
Yeah, we typically, again, the larger the organization, the more money that we're going to save. And it's super important that we do mention what you said. The savings that we find, it's 100% profit. It is, you used to pay $14,000 for something, now you're paying $11,000. That $3,000 is now just profit. And we got there without changing anything. We didn't have to lower headcount. We didn't have to, again, using my analogy in the beginning, we didn't tell you to start printing your stuff on two sides. We're not doing any of that. We're not making operational changes. We're simply making the products and services that you tend to not focus on, trying to make those less expensive, but with the same vendor.
It sounds almost too good to be true.
Yep.
Every time, we talk about this and the process and the benefit, I think, why doesn't everybody do this?
Actually, I agree. It's why people don't do it. We hear a lot, and people always say the same exact thing. They say one of two things: either I have all of these costs under control myself, or I just don't have the time. So to answer the first part, if you do, imagine the luxury of being able to bring a national company in to validate that you have all of your costs under control, give you a clean bill of health for no cost. So if we can't find savings, there's no cost to what we do. All we can do is give you a report card on, you guys are doing fantastic in all of these areas that we look at. There's no savings. I do have to say that happens exactly 2% of the times that we're engaged. So 98% of the times we're engaged, we are finding money. The second part is we're afraid it's going to take too much time. Because of the nature of what we do, all of the effort that goes into the work that SIB does is built to save the client time and save them money in that order. So we are not going to come in and ask for a big heavy lift especially because all of the invoices and the tools that we have are right there. So we don't have to go through the headache and heartache of actually pulling all the invoices like we normally do in our when we have clients that hire us that are not on the InfoSync platform. It's another level of step where we have to go in and actually get all of the invoices. The fact that they're already all in your system, it makes our job incredibly easy. So Ashley, I agree with you. Why wouldn't everybody do this?
Well, again, I will say that it is a huge benefit to our clients and yours as well. And I'm so glad that InfoSync and SIB partnered. I know it took a couple years to get there, but I think it was an amazing decision on both of our parts. And I love working with your team, and I'm so excited to be able to offer this to our clients. So thank you so much for that.
Ashley, thank you. I cannot say enough good things about everybody on your team, from the top all the way down to the people that are helping us on an individualized basis when we're pulling the records and going through. It's a big love fest between our two companies, and I think it's because the ethos of your firm is you want to provide the best value and service for your clients. And the fact that you see that we are one of those pieces, we take that to heart, and we really want to make sure that we provide as much value as we possibly can for your clients. So thank you so much for the opportunity. And we're a relatively sizable company here, but feel free. Any of your clients, they can reach out directly to me if they have questions about this. We have a whole series of people that work on the client engagement side, but anybody who's watching this that says, I think I'd be interested in that, feel free, reach out. We'll talk to any InfoSync clients. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Ashley.
Thank you, Kevin, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Great.